Kuntres Umaayan Perek base. You guys ready for this? We're picking up right from yesterday where we were talking about how, firstly, going off the right path and being stupid is two meanings of shtus. The reason, and there really one, the reason you go off the right path is because you're feeling stupid. And the reason you feel stupid because the Yitzhara gets you to, tries to convince you to go off the right path. And the next thing we learned, and we're going to continue about today, was all about how someone can lower themselves to being involved in animalistic desires. Can you guys give me an example of an animalistic desire?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Eating a giant, juicy burger. I was walking down the street yesterday, and I saw an ad in front of Mendy's that said juicy burger. Okay, I hope they don't put like apple juice or orange juice in a juicy burger. But whatever it is, if someone's going to be walking down the street and looking at that, he's lowering himself. What does it mean he's lowering himself? Because really, it's not an evil thing to eat a juicy burger. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like it's quite fine.
That's how you go to either go to Prime Avenue or to
now we're getting into opinions. Now this is controversial. But really, it's fully kosher to eat a juicy burger, right, guys? You have 10 hashkachas over there. It's 100% kosher. So what's the problem with eating a juicy burger? I don't understand. So here's the thing. By the way, I was once listening to a shiur in Kuntres Umaayan from Rabbi Lever. And he was giving a shiur in a seminary. So often, seminary girls are very genuine. So they're very genuine. So they get very worried when you say things like this. So he started off Kuntres Umaayan, and usually you're supposed to understand the mimer, and then you see what you can implement in your life. So he started teaching the mimer, and straight away a girl picks up her hand, and you hear in the background, "Rabbi, does this mean I'm not allowed to wear jewelry anymore? I'm not allowed to have pleasures?" And she was genuinely worried. This mimer was about to ruin her whole life. So I don't think everything in this mimer, I'm not going to tell you to take it with a grain of salt, because everything is 100% true. And should be taken 100% literally. But first, understand it. And really, that's what the whole mimer is about. First, you have to understand things before getting emotional. And once you understand it, then we're going to try apply it to our life. Some people a bit more, some people a bit less. You speak to your personal mashpia about how to apply it more or less to your life. That's what it says in the introduction to Tanya, right, Menachem? You then when we learn the introduction to Tanya, it says that Chassidic is all 100% true. But some people struggle to understand how to apply it to their life. So that's why you have to have your personal, local Orthodox Chassid that you can go over to and ask how to apply it. So, you guys probably shouldn't be wearing jewelry, but for the same thing with the juicy burger, we're going to understand the issue with the juicy burger, and then after we understand it, we'll bring it into our lives with application. So, in today's piece, I'm going to have to give one preface before we learn, and it's like this. Let me ask you guys. My daughter is very, very young. She's a newborn. And she likes to suck on a pacifier. Is that okay? What do you say?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it's great. It's very, very... Why is it okay? It's normal. It wasn't normal for a newborn baby to suck on a pacifier. So that's why it's perfectly okay.
You have to go a level higher. Because it's in the same thing.
So here's the question. What would happen if a 10-year-old would be sucking on a pacifier?
You'd think, good job for you.
No, come on. What would you say? You see a 10-year-old sucking on a pacifier. You go to camp, you're a counselor of 5th grade, there's a kid in your bunk who every night when he goes to bed sucks on a pacifier.
I'll be like, at least you're being more quiet than everyone.
At least he's keeping quiet. Okay, fair enough. No, really, it's a big problem. It's a big problem. You're sucking a pacifier when you're 10 years old. Why is it okay for a newborn? And it's not okay for a 10-year-old.
Giving it to little kids.
Why is it not okay for a 10-year-old? The reason is because it's lower than him. When you're a newborn, this is what's normal for you. This is what's expected of you. This is your level. When you're a 10-year-old, you're supposed to have grown, become more mature, and acting the same way as a newborn baby is lowering yourself to the level of a newborn baby, and that's not okay. That's not okay. Same thing with crying. If a newborn baby wakes up 10 times in the middle of the night crying because it's hungry, you know what? That's perfectly normal. Parents might not enjoy it, but it's perfectly normal. But here's the thing. What happens if a 17-year-old bocher, what happens if your roommate wakes up every night, 10 times in the middle of the night, and starts crying that he's hungry? And you're like, dude, go get a sandwich from the fridge. And he's like, just crying. Is that normal? I don't think it's very normal. Why? Why is it normal for this baby? The baby's a person, he's a person. Because the baby's at one level of maturity, and 17-year-old guy is obviously at a much higher level of maturity, and acting like a baby is lowering himself to that level. Now that we figured out that some things are perfectly okay things, it's okay to be hungry, and it's okay to have a pacifier. It never says in the Torah, don't be hungry or don't have a pacifier. It doesn't say in any law of this country. You know, you guys ever read the Constitution? I promise you, it never says no pacifiers. But the problem is that this person is lowering themselves to something lower than them, and because of that, it's a very, very strange, worrying state. No one's above the law. Okay. So, let's find out about this. Perek Beis. You're going to see how this is going to come into our discussion. Chapter number 2. Be'emes, in truth, this person who's lowering himself to run after his desires is a great, you know what shaitim? Shtus neir. Shtus means stupidity or folly. It's a big stupidity. Is this the really good for him? He's drawn after. The person who is the most chosen of all creations. You have to read the sentence like a question mark, an exclamation mark at the end. Is this the good for him? Is this like, wow, this is a person. Imagine that. Hashem created all these animals and all the fish and all the birds, and he created a human being, the greatest of all his creations, in order that what? That instead of an animal eating grass, a human being can eat a donut. Instead of an animal which just eats grass, a human being can go 5,000 years to develop civilization in order that they can come to New York City and invent a new art that it's very healthy to eat grass smoothies. You ever seen those? You go to a fancy place, spend like $15, and they have special grass growing back there. I think they call it like aloe or something. They have grass, and they put it in your smoothie, and the health benefits, incredible. Why would Hashem, if Hashem already created cows to eat grass, to create people to eat grass, or any other type of grass, like a smoothie or a chocolate milk, is that really what's great for a person? Because, you guys see it? There's lots of different types of pleasures. You guys ready for different levels of pleasure? We're going to go tracing the depth of a person. In accordance with the depth of a person, we're going to understand what pleasure he can have at each level of his depth. Let's start at the beginning. Number 1. You ready for the most basic pleasure? Let's say the enjoyment, the pleasure. Eating a very sweet, tasty dish, which is tasty for your mouth. This is the lowest and most basic enjoyment.
And yeah, this was who do you say must be on the biggest type in the world?
Rabbi Lever, yeah. Rabbi Lever's idea of a type was a bocher, steht in gas and ess chocolate. A bocher standing on the street eating chocolate. That was his idea of the biggest type you can do. Similarly, in general, pleasure in physical things and bodily things. This is a pleasure that's literally on animal level. Animals enjoy eating stuff and enjoy taking care of their bodies. You ever seen like a video of like an elephant rolling around the ground to scratch its back? Okay, it's having a good time. There's also people who are busy scratching their back. Because animals are drawn after things that are good, and sweet. What's the level of good and sweet? There's good and sweet things because that's its natural desire. Things that are physically good and physically sweet, just in a very sensatory way. There's a lot of different senses you have. One of them is basic taste and feel. You guys ever were in kindergarten, you read the 5 senses books? You have taste, feel, hearing, seeing. What's the other one? Smell. Those are very basic senses that an animal also enjoys things that taste good and smell good. The animal doesn't know from any other good. Rather from this good of a tasty banana for a monkey's eating. It's drawn after that. Now, before we get to the next level, let's talk about this. Is this bad that animals like eating tasty things? Is it bad that monkeys like bananas? No, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine for a person to like bananas also. But if a person's whole life and his whole passion is into eating a banana, a person sits down and is like, delicious bananas. I love this so much. You know what? That's really sad that you're operating on the same level as a monkey. Just like the 10-year-old who still uses a pacifier. There's no problem with a banana, but there's a problem with a person lowering themselves to a monkey level. So, let's see. Let's just talk about one thing I want to speak about over here. That when we said taivas of food, you noticed how he said over here, so too with all other physical and bodily pleasures. Did you notice that one? He said first, we started a conversation about the lowest level of pleasure is food. And Shmuley Herevard, we started a conversation about the lowest level of pleasure is food. But then we go up. He included in that all physical bodily desires. This is very important because I was once sitting with a group of Bochum and they were complaining. Why is it that the mashpia sits by the Fabrengen and he speaks the whole time about the Bochum has such a deep desire to put ketchup or mustard on his hot dog? And we have to overpower the Yetzer Hara that he wants mustard on the hot dog. And these guys are sitting there being like, seriously? We have real lives. We have real struggles. We need someone to address our real struggles that we're dealing with, not with mustard and hot dog. Okay, well, mustard, we won't have mustard. So if you notice what he wrote over here, the Rebbe Rashab wrote very clearly over here, maybe the Mashpia should have explained this to them, but at least you guys should know that the pleasure of food in Chassidus is, firstly, it's talking about the pleasure of food, quite simply. I'm not like making some pretend make-up explanation. It's quite simply talking about what it's talking about. But also it represents all other inyonim gashmi v'gufnim, physical and bodily desires. So some people, their physical body desire is to put mustard on the hot dog. And some guys, their physical bodily desire is that they get very angry when people don't do what they want, so they start to punch them in the face. And some people, their physical and bodily desire is to run after all other types of pleasures. Some people, it's maybe someone has an issue with smoking, maybe someone has an issue with drinking. Obviously, we're not talking about like illnesses that you need a doctor or a psychologist for. There's some people just have a desire to do something, and they really need to break out of that. So when the Mashpia is talking about putting mustard on the hot dog, he is talking about everyone's struggles. Just everyone in the room has different struggles. And he is choosing mustard on the hot dog as an example for everyone's struggles. So our basic, that was the word. So our basic level of most lowest desire is someone who's running after bodily things. You guys ever learned from the Gemara the case of an ox that scratches its back on the fence and knocks down the fence? The Gemara starts discussing, does the owner of the ox have to pay the fence? Because he should have expected it. He should pay. The reason why he would pay for the fence is because everyone knows that oxes like to scratch their back. So if you left your ox next to someone's fence, you'd expect him to scratch his back. Then there's ideas in the opposite. We're not getting into the whole Gemara now. But what's the point? If some people, their back's itchy, so they scratch it and they move on in life. Some people scratch their back and let out a whole and they're enjoying it. And then they get home and tell their parents, you have no idea, I had such a good time scratching my back today. It's sad. It's sad that you lowered yourself to the point that you're like to the level of the ox. Maybe because it's the ox in the Gemara. Maybe it's very holy ox. I don't know. But it's never. So let's go up a level. Let's switch it up. Shift it into second gear. You ready for the next level of pleasure? Higher level of pleasure in a higher point of a person. Well, the Ma'ilum is higher than this. With coil already. The pleasure of hearing a very nice voice. That's a bit more spiritual. So we left the sense of feeling and taste, and we moved on to the sense of hearing, where someone can appreciate good music. That's a little bit more spiritual. That's something a little bit deeper. So, can an animal appreciate good music? An animal can definitely appreciate the difference between nails on a blackboard and music. Like one of them is calming, one of them is distressing. But it can't exactly tell you the depth of Beethoven.
Music, just you don't know the difference. Maybe they can do it. I don't know.
Not exactly sure. But tell me, you appreciate good music, right?
Yeah.
So music is something a little bit more refined, a little bit deeper. Someone like Mozart or Beethoven have a deep side to them to be able to plumb to the depths of music. I don't know about some music. Let's talk about a real musician. Someone who's a real understanding of music and a real musician. They don't just make like nice sounding sounds. They express themselves. They bring out their feelings through their music. It's something deep about it. So that's someone who enjoys music is a little bit deeper than someone who is busy going on a food crawl every day. You guys know what a food crawl is? You go up Kingston Avenue and you stop in every store and you have a meal in every store. Isn't that incredible? They should have like a hospital. That's why they have a doctor. Yeah, what's it called again? The urgent care at the end of Kingston. After when you finish the food crawl and eating a meal in every store,
It's closed down. The one on left.
you have to go to the urgent care. Maybe they should make a new one.
Closed down.
Go a bit further. There's a hospital. So either way, let's talk about now. Let's shift up to gear number 3. You guys ever drove a race car? No, neither have I. But you have to shift a lot of gears. Now let's go up to number 3. Well, Umayim is there. Let's say deeper in a person. So a higher pleasure is what? What time we don't admit this? The pleasure in emotional matters. And now we're going to have the rest of the discussion of this paragraph. It's going to be about our third level of pleasure, which is emotional pleasure. Now this is a lot higher. This is like someone who really enjoys helping people. He really enjoys feeling good. He really enjoys doing good things. Let me show you the example. Let's read the example straight from the Rebbe Rashab before I start to talk about it. Kamoi, just like Midas HaTov. Let's say one midah is being nice, goodness, chesed and kindness. That someone does, it was also with his friend or with someone else. There's incredible enjoyment in this. For the good guy. If someone's a nice guy, he really enjoys going around and helping people. So, let's say you ever see, by the way, people doing volunteering, doing things like this. There's a lot of people out there who volunteer for all sorts of organizations, and some of them I was genuinely confused what motivates people to do this. And the answer is very simple. People want to be nice. If someone's a nice person, they want to be nice. By the way, this would apply also to someone who's a very strict person, who what makes him happy, I don't know about big smile, but what makes him calm, what makes him himself, is making sure everything's very orderly and having a schedule and having his whole day in a spreadsheet. You know what I'm saying? So that's also a different type of midah. But here we're talking about someone nice. So we've really improved now. Instead of someone who is into food, someone into music, we're talking about someone who's into emotions. That's a lot deeper. Now the Rebbe is going to tell us emotions is still, if you're involved in your emotions and you're just enjoying emotions for the sake of emotions, that's still a sad case. It's still like the 10-year-old with a pacifier. You're still lowering yourself. Why? Why is that? I thought emotions were the deepest part of a person. Let's find out. There's also levels within emotions. If you're just doing good because that's your nature, just nature without the intellect deciding, then meaning he does good and kindness to everyone that he sees without deciding who's good and bad, or and without any deep thought and intention, but I see as a toiv in doing good. Or you say to the guy, was there, then the enjoyment of this, it's also animal level pleasure. That you're just expressing your natural feelings of love. Just like some animals express a natural feeling that they're hungry. Some animals show a natural feeling of love. Okay, you do it, as it's known. The main part of the animal is the emotions. Levad alone, the aim badas klan doesn't have any understanding. When someone's really enjoying with doing emotions, which emotions? The emotions that are levad, and seichel, just emotions alone without intellect dictating the terms. He's just like an animal, a very nice animal, but animal. You guys ever heard of an emotional support dog? I never understood when I was younger why people have dogs. They're messy. You have to take care of them. When I got a bit older, maybe I got up to the level of the animal we're talking about over here, of enjoying emotions. I realized people need love. People need to also be kind and giving. When you're dealing with other people, people are sometimes difficult because people don't always think the same way you do. People don't always want the same things you do. If you buy a dog or a cat, it's pretty simple. You can care for it. You can give it love. When a person comes home, if they have a dog that's well trained and they show it a lot of love, the dog comes running to the door and comes over, doesn't give them a hug. What does the dog do? It comes and runs around their legs and jumps up on them. So excited to see them. You give it love, it gives you love. Then I met a woman actually when I was in Oregon who actually had an emotional support dog. And she needed it with her in the room. She didn't want to leave it outside. Okay, it's an emotional support dog. We let her take it into the room. Right? It makes sense. Someone who really, really is very insecure and needs a lot of love, a dog is an amazing way to have a lot of love. This dog is, I think it was trained. Even though I don't know how well trained it was, because after the Shabbos meal, we found out it decided to go to the bathroom, but wasn't in the bathroom. So that was a very interesting experience. But, anyways, why does she need emotional support? Dog says she wants love. So animals, dogs can give love. Cats can give love. Animals can show love. They're very... Now, if you ask the animal, why are you showing love? The animal has no idea why it's showing love. It doesn't decide. The animal never sat down and decided that you are someone who deserves love. Or when you're feeling sad, the animal doesn't decide you're feeling sad, and I haven't done my 20 minutes of good deeds today, so I'm going to go and make you feel good. You know, animals sometimes some animals are very emotionally in tune, and they feel that someone's sad, so they show some love. Very simple. It's all feeling based. Is this a bad thing? No, it's very good feelings. It's great. It's nice. It's fun. It's beautiful. But it's very sad if this is what a person's operating at that level. Some people base their whole life on emotions. These are a lot of people that you'll see.
Technically, a kid is more hard to take care of, but also like emotional.
Yes, children are much more emotionally based than intellectually based. That's correct. The mind develops mostly between the age of when you're born and the age of 20 is the main development of the mind. And every year, a person gets more intelligence. What else do you hear? Oh, what is it?
They're emotional supportive also.
Children?
I don't know.
Yeah. Great. So, if a person, let's say someone dedicates their life to save the whales, but what's the reason behind it? Is it because they sat down and they realized we don't have whales, it's going to destroy the whole ecosystem in the ocean, and it'll be terrible for the world? Or is it because they're good people and they want to do something good, so they express an emotion? If they're expressing an emotion, it's very nice, but it's still lower than what a person should be. A person should do emotions. Their emotions should be based off intellect. So now let's see the side that it should be. All a person's emotions, it has to be according to intellect. Let's give an example of doing emotions based on intellect. Just like with the feeling of kindness, to decide whether you should do good or bad. To decide whether something is good or bad. Sorry, you should never do bad. To decide whether something is good or bad. So, if you're walking down the street, let's say I was once waiting for the bus with a friend of mine, Avremi. Not this Avremi, a different Avremi. And a guy came over to us. And my friend's like, oh, this guy's my friend. Now I started to back off because the guy's a known drug addict. And this guy started ranting about all his different drugs and telling us about his drugs. And I was pretty scared, actually. I really wanted to back off. My friend told me, oh, I'm friends with him. I'm like, how are you friends with this guy? He's like, I buy him food. I'm like, wow, incredible. Because this drug addict goes around all day and he asks people for money. And some people who are midless people, they're feeling emotional people, they go give him money because they feel good feeling like that. You give him and you're like, wow, I'm a good person. What does he do with that money? He goes and buys drugs. So really giving him money is not helping him. It's the worst thing for him. That's what happens when you have emotion without intellect. My friend, though, had intellect in his emotion. He's like, well, I don't want him to buy drugs, but he's got to eat and is not capable of taking care of himself. So therefore, I'll go buy him a sandwich. That's what happens when intellect runs your emotions. You have to understand what's good and what's bad. Well, sometimes you have to give goodness also to someone who doesn't deserve it. But you have to do it because of a good outcome that will come from this. When is an example we could find of someone who gives kindness to people who are completely undeserving, but to come to a good result? We're going to have a long story over here. It's a very old story from 4,000 years ago. You ready? Like a patriarch Abraham. Now, what did he do? That he would give food and drink. Rabbi. Also, to the Arab populace, that in his days, the people of the Middle East, there were many people who would serve all sorts of idols, including the dust in their feet. These people are very lowly people. As Chassidic explains that the feet are the lowest part of the person, and dust on the bottom of the feet is lower than the lowest part of the person. And they're bowing down their head, which the head is the highest part of the person, and they're lowering that to the lowest part of the person. So it shows what lowly people they were. Nevertheless, what would Abram do? He set up a tent in the middle of the desert, and all the travelers, no matter how lowly they were, he'd say, hey, come have a meal. He'd help them out. They'd be like, wow, I really need a drink. It's the middle of the desert. He'd be like, okay, I have drinks for you. Why would he do this? Why was he going around helping out such lowly people? Well, Kavana, the whole intention was in order to let God's blessed, well, the way you'd say this is Hashem's godliness, be known in the world. Bring close all different creations to godliness. This is Gemara. Let's see what it says in the Gemara. You guys ever learned this Gemara? It's a very famous Gemara. It says that he called out in the name of Hashem, the God of the world. Now, Rish Lakish teaches that what? Don't teach he called out. Rather, you should teach he made call out. He made others call out.
Yeah.
You would think he's calling out. He's standing there praying all day. No, it's not about his prayers. He's making others pray. He's making others call out in the name of Hashem. Like we say in the bracket here, along with the Brias, he taught the creation of the prayer, Sham B'Shem Hashem Kelolim, to call out there in the name of Hashem, the God in the world. That's what Rashi says. So, let's find out how he do this.
Like not Hashem, like he's not Hashem the one.
So they call out that Hashem is the God of the world. That's what they make him call out.
Says there God.
So the brackets over here were from Rashi. Lomad the Brias, he taught the creations, the Kriya Sham, call out there, B'Shem Hashem Kelolim, in the name of Hashem, the God of the world. So, how would he do this? Abraham would make every individual there call out in the name of Hashem. Every traveler. Ketzad. How would he do this? So after these travelers would eat and drink, they'd stand up to bless him. To bless who? Avram. They'd bless Avram and say, Avram, you're such a great guy. He said, hey, really? Did you really eat my food? You ate God's food. Everything belongs to God. You should praise and bless the one that spoke and the world came into existence. Praise Hashem. This was the ultimate reason for his doing kindness. Not just to express his natural feeling that I like to be a nice guy, but rather he's going out, he's helping people so that they should become closer to God. He had an idea behind this. He's like, I'm going to help these people become more godly people. Let's see more information from the Medrash. It says, Avram would receive the travelers, that eat and drink. Tell them, Baruch, you should bless Hashem. They said to him, what should we say? He told them, blessed is the God of the world that we have eaten from what's his. If they say, hey, that's a great idea, and then bless God, then they'd eat and they'd drink and they'd go on their way. If they wouldn't accept this, or lay upon themselves, and they wouldn't bless God, then they'd say, no, well, let's figure out some other way. We're not interested in blessing God. He'd say, hey, you have to give me what you owe me. Like, you ate a big meal. Now you got to pay pay the bill. Tip your waiter. Omar Ma Islach. They say, okay, so pass me the bill. Ma Islach alai. What's the price? Have an Omar lay. He'd say, okay, let's figure it out. You guys ready for some Aramaic words? Chad ksit. One ksit. What's a ksit? Pirush. Ha'arek. Kli. Shel chesed. Peres. Oy mateches. Oy Michael Dover. The Chamer. Yain. It means one jug, which is either made out of, like, whatever. It's just a word for a jug made out of metal or something else. So one jug of wine. How much is that? Bay pullerin. You owe me one pullerin, minimum fare, which was a type of coin. So one pullerin price for, I don't know what that is, like $100, let's say, for the wine. You had liter the kupar and you ate 1 liter basar. You ate 1 piece of meat. So for that, pay pullerin. You owe me a pullerin coin. So let's say that's another $100. You had eagle de rifta, and you had 1 loaf of rifta, which is lechem, which is bread. Pay pullerin. You owe me another pullerin coin. So you owe me $300 for a square meal. So man, so they're like, why is it so expensive? So it's like, come on, where are you going to find good wine in the middle of the desert? Who's going to give you good meat in the middle of the desert? Who's going to give you a loaf of bread in the middle of the desert? Where in the world are you going to find a 5-star hotel in the middle of the desert? So I can charge whatever I want. You know, I've got no competition. So then, man, the Havi Okule in Hebrew. When these guests would see, oh no, now I'm getting into trouble. Now he's going to charge me a fortune, and like, I can't complain because, like, you know, we got service. Uber Eats doesn't deliver to the middle of the Mesopotamian desert. I think this is in Eretz Yisrael, actually. I think this is in Israel. Uber Eats is pretty good in Israel, right? Yeah. Do they have it? I don't think they deliver to the middle of the desert, though. So, where else are you going to get food from? Have an Omer that say, you know what? We'll take the short route. Save some money over here. Baruch kel oilam shakana v'shaloi. Would say, blessed with the God of the world that we ate from what's his. Okay, call him midas. So, what do we learn from this? This. Kindness. And also all other feelings, the emotions, they have to be according to the dictate of intellect. Just like Abraham, you know, that he expressed his kindness, not just because he's a nice guy, but more than that, in order to achieve what made sense. Kitzer, let's say in short what we learned today. You ready for the short version? Tanugim. In pleasure, there's levels. One's higher than the next. Pleasure in eating delicious food and the like, and having pleasure of the body. That's the lowest pleasure. And that's an animal pleasure. Because next level, gear number 2, pleasure with a sweet voice. And then gear number 3, midas. Shall be a seichel and the enjoyment of doing. You're expressing your emotions according to intellect. Lahativ laharoyoi, to give goodness to the someone who deserves it. And sometimes also to give goodness to someone who doesn't deserve it. Why would he give kindness to a bad guy? If he showed temporarily in order to for the purpose that comes out of this. For example, you'd want to give good things to a bad guy. Why? Because maybe he'll become a good guy like this.
That's why he's a shtus.
So a shtus is to do your feelings just for the sake of feeling.
Right.
What's a good thing to do is do your feelings because it's dictated by emotion.
So you don't give Ace of let's say money because you feel good and you want him to become your friends. Give him money so that you should like become a better person.
Exactly. Maybe if you come and get closer to him, become a better person. Fantastic. Great.